The Dugukan martial arts system of self-defense art, and it's comprising of lessons of self-defense art. Eskrima, bare-handed fighting, the Filipino form of wrestling or grappling, and the knife fighting, the axe fighting, and also the pistol fighting. And the system of the Dugukan martial arts is based on the modality of the Shan. And included in this lesson of the Dugukan martial arts is the art of energy healing, hilot healing, and martial arts. Martial arts using the eskrima or the stick as its weapon for toppling down the opponent. And as martial arts is development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. And the Dugukan martial arts, this is the advocacy that we are going to practice lessons of the Dugukan martial arts so that we can make our body stronger in the body, mind, soul, and spirit. So development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. And then what's Dugukan martial arts system? Dugukan martial arts system is self-defense art. And we have the eskrima, and by this time, there are various masters of the Dugukan martial arts. And masters of the Dugukan martial arts, they are trained in the system of the Dugukan. For example, in the Dugukan martial arts, eskrima or kali or arnis, the Dugukan system employed various strikes, various forms and gestures, techniques of eskrima fighting using the stick. And it could be also bladed weapon, such as bulo. That's the Filipino version of the bladed weapon or longer form of metal weapon. And that's used for hacking or stabbing. And that's very common in the culture of the Filipino that we have bolo to cut the trees and to use for our daily activities, especially when we are in the province where we are in the agriculture industry. And then not just only the use of the bulo or pinuti or sundang in Cebuano version to hack the trees or to cut the trees, and it could be used in the self-defense art, and that's the martial arts of the Dugukan. And also the knives, the knife, single knife fighting, and also the double knife fighting. And likewise in the eskrima or arnis, when you are going to use the stick, you can use the single stick or the double stick. Then employing the sticks as your weapon of self-defense art, and you have to apply the techniques of the Dugukan martial arts system. And what are the techniques of the Dugukan martial arts system? And then you can use single technique of a single stick, fighting the different strikes of the Dugukan, and also the double stick, employing the different strikes of the Dugukan martial arts system. And there are various strikings of the Dugukan martial arts system. I'm talking about the stick fighting or the bulo or knife fighting. And this include the espada idaga. And then the different strikes of the Dugukan, the single striking. There's the single tirada. Tirada is strike. So single strike, you're going to use only single strike to hit your opponent or to topple down your opponent. And with a single strike, you are going to counter all kinds of strikes of your opponent. And how could it be done? You are going only to use a single stick to topple down your opponent or to counter all the strikes of your opponent. And it can be done because in the Dugukan martial arts, you are going to apply three important elements of mastering the martial arts. First is you have to apply the technique. And yes, this is a concern. In this first task that you are going to apply, you should practice the technique. After mastering the technique, and then you can proceed to speed. And do not use force yet. You have to develop yet the speed after you can memorize the technique. And then later on, as you master or you are enhanced with the technique, and then you can proceed to the harnessing of your speed. Right after harnessing your speed, and then you can apply the force. So, using the single stick, then there is a master of the Dugukan martial arts system, and then that we're here, he is here to illustrate the single stick, or single strike, using single strike, using single stick, or single strike, using double stick. And then how that the single strike or single tirada can manage to maneuver a tougher opponent. And is it possible to topple down tougher opponent with just single strike and single counter attack for the strikes or for the various strikes of a tougher opponent? And yes, that is possible. That could be very possible because in the martial arts you have to apply the techniques, you have to apply strategy, and we have to realize the elements of good martial arts, and then that is develop your technique and develop your speed, and right after that you have to develop your force. So there are also different characteristics are for other people regarding on the mastery of the movements, because there are people just like me, for example. I'm bigger in the physical body, so bigger people, they could have force, and they could be not as much speed as the people who are not really big in the body, and then their advantage actually is in the force. And there are also bigger people, then they can also play with the speed because they are practicing it and they are doing enhancement every day, practicing their martial arts, and this is why they can move so fast, or they can release, or they can perform quick movement, because that's the martial arts, development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. And then the martial arts is not just only physical movement, it's actually development of the mind. As I'm saying, the development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. That's the meaning of the martial arts, and that's actually the fundamental or the very formula that we are going to apply here in the Dugukan. Development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. And then to sum up with that principle, that's actually wisdom. So we are going to practice martial arts because we want to be healthy, and in the mind we are really healthy because we have an expansion of our spiritual awareness because of the enhancement of our martial arts. And that is why practitioners of the Dugukan martial arts, they are mastering the different forms and gestures and different strikes of the Dugukan martial arts system. The single tirada, the dos tiradas or two strikes, then the tres tiradas or the three strikes. So why is it called dos tiradas or tres tiradas? The tres tiradas, three strikes. With the three strikes, you are going to topple down your opponent and to block all the strikes as much as you can by the method of the tres tiradas. So is it very powerful using only or employing only the tres tiradas in your martial arts? Definitely, that would be very powerful so long as you can apply your system, you can apply your technique and your force and then the speed. And any of the tiradas of the martial arts, if you're using the doshi tiradas, or how many tiradas that you are going to apply, and then it depends upon your enhancement. But of course, the system as well that you are going to apply in your practice of martial arts, especially when you are practicing eskrima or arnis. Around the world, there are so many people practicing arnis, and that's really good, by the way. Really good, because striking the opponent with the stick that you are going to use, or method of this martial arts fighting, extension of the hands by using the weapon, the stick or the knife or the bull or the bladed weapon, would be very advantage. And people practicing that will really have the enhancement of their technique as well as their speed and the force. So continue the practice. So that's a really good habit, by the way, or really good maintenance for the body if you are going to integrate the system as well of the healing aspect or the wellness aspect of your martial arts. So it's not just only self-protection against bad elements, people who are your enemy, because we don't have enemy. We are in the discipline of martial arts, and you are in the discipline of the martial arts, which means higher form of discipline. So that's why it's nice to practice martial arts. And another tiradas also of the Dugukan, the cuatro tiradas. The cuatro tiradas, that's actually very effective movement to counter or to topple down tougher opponent. When you can master the movement of the cuatro tiradas, and then you can play actual combative art and can topple down tougher opponent. And then of course, you have to master, enhance your movement, the cuatro tiradas, because when the opponent will strike, you have to be quick as well to topple down the strikes of your opponent. So that's why in the Dugukan martial arts, there is a precise principle that we should understand. And masters of the Dugukan in the different chapters, they are familiar with the principle. So that's why integration of the lessons in their martial arts practice, the realization for the very principle. For example, striking the opponent. How you are going to strike with your opponent? You have to strike it with the speed and the force, and likewise also with application of the technique. Because if you don't have the technique, then you are going to use your force. It could be that your strike could not connect to your opponent or to the target. It means to say you have to practice as well, enhance your accuracy of delivering your strike. And the cuatro tiradas, likewise with the city tiradas and the 14 tiradas, or cuatro tiradas 4 strikes, city tiradas 7 strikes, and 14 tiradas or 14 tiradas, that is 14 strikes. And then all these strikes of the Dugukan martial arts system is encompassing the modality of the San modality. Why is it San modality? Because there is actually the base for its very foundation of the Dugukan martial arts system. So that's why if you are one of the practitioners of the Dugukan, studying the lessons of any of the masters of the Dugukan, teaching the Dugukan martial arts system, you will be taught on how to use the San modality principle in the application of your martial arts, or eskrima or arnis. Because arnis is commonly called eskrima or kali or stick fighting. That would include the knife fighting and the bladed weapon fighting. And not just only that, the Dugukan martial arts are enhancing. We are also enhancing the forms of Filipino pugilism or barehanded fighting, and then the use of all the body parts as the body weapon to protect yourself against attack of the opponent or attackers. And then also the grappling. And then the grappling of the Dugukan martial arts system, thus employing forms and gestures, the non-stop of striking and the counter attacks and the locks, and also using the locks as your counter and also attacks. So how could it be done? And then the system of the Dugukan is in that version. When you are going to counter the attack of your opponent, you have also to apply the lock, and at the same time the lock would be also your strike, and using the body parts as your effective weapon to topple down the opponent. And this is actually understanding of the principle of the Dugukan martial arts. And then with that, after you will discern the very principle of the Dugukan martial arts, for example, I'm going to memorize 120 locks and counter locks, for example. And then there's no need for you to memorize 120 locks, because you cannot really count the locks, because it would depend on the movement of your opponent. So you have to practice formless martial arts. And then, of course, we cannot get the formless martial arts right away. We have to undergo first training with the basic martial arts. So in the basic martial arts, it's actually a practical application of the counter locks and counter attacks, because usually we do not know that, for example, in the actual experience, bad elements will try to attack you. Then that could be in a sudden way, quick attack, and then without you having spiritual awareness, then you're not aware of that kind of attack, then definitely you are putting yourself in danger against that kind of attack. So therefore, enhancement of your spiritual awareness will tell you in advance that there is the vibration, something different that you could feel in the surroundings, and then with that, your spiritual awareness will tell you that it might be something negative that is actually closer at you, and then you might be in danger if you are not aware of that, and what would be that kind of danger. And then if you notice something that bad elements will try to attack you, and then the reflexes are ready to counter all that kind of negative attack or destructive attack from the opponent. So that's why with the different strikes of the Dugukan martial arts system, you can apply it to protect yourself. And if, of course, you don't have enemy, we don't have enemy, because we are in the practice of the holistic art. And then mostly important, we are going to use it as our body maintenance. So practicing martial arts for your good body maintenance, for your wellness exercise, to develop your body, mind, soul, and spirit. And by this time, I could say that because of the love of the hearts also of the people practicing the Dugukan martial arts, and they are sharing the lessons of the system to their brothers and their sisters, and that's why they have their own clubs as well, and they teach martial arts and depending also on their mastery, and the continuing training program of the Dugukan martial arts system, especially for the different masters of each chapter. And by this time, we have the chapter, Karatan chapter, headed by Master Arthur Hernais or Haliging Arthur Hernais. And also the Dugukan Martial Arts Arnis Club, headed by Master Ramon Hernais or Igmat Ramon Hernais. So Igmat Ramon Hernais is one of the Filipino martial arts master. And in fact, he is also an officer of the Philippine Eskrima Arnis Federation, particularly southern part of Cebu in Karkar, Cebu City. So he is the director of the PCAF or Philippine Eskrima Arnis Federation. And he would have also various students who are benefiting the system that he learned in the Dugukan martial arts system. And also we have the martial arts master as well, Haliging Tonton Hernais, Master Tonton Hernais in the Danao chapter, and he is teaching Eskrima or Arnes with all those versions that I'm saying, the different tiradas of the Dugukan. And also Master Basilio Hernais, the teacher of Dugukan martial arts or Eskrima at the Gurudo chapter, Cebu City. And also Mat Julian Bularin is a youth, one of the leaders of the youth, inspiring the youth to practice martial arts, especially women. And Igmat Julian Bularin, instructor of the Guadalupe chapter. And also we have one of the masters of the Dugukan martial arts teaching Eskrima to the brothers and the sisters or to anyone love to learn the Filipino art or Filipino originated art. Master Robert Santos of Zamboanga chapter, and we have also in Manila chapter one of the Filipino propagators and practitioners of Dugukan holistic art, and that's Master Haliging Darj Fire. So anybody that would like to learn the lesson, then any of the masters of the Dugukan martial arts, and then they are the right person that can teach you as well the system of the said Dugukan martial arts system. And we have also a chapter in the San Carlos Negros Occidental headed by Master Quincy Shatbiri. She's a propagator of the women's welfare, integrating the knife fighting as the self-protection for the women. And she's teaching martial arts. Outside the country, we have also Abtik Edwin and Abtik Mira teaching the Filipino martial arts. So they are instructors of the Filipino martial arts. And then anybody that would like to learn the lesson, then you can approach any of the master of the Dugukan martial arts. In Panama, Abtik Mira and Abtik Edwin. In India, Marivik and Anagha. And Minnesota, our instructor there for Art of Life, Spiritual Martial Arts is Heidi Van Hoek. And also in the Manila, Joy Beth sa Malabon. They are practicing the Dugukan martial arts. And also in Liburon, we have Igmat Irish. And anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, that the Filipino propagators learning the Dugukan martial arts, they can teach the principle of the Dugukan martial arts of Eskrima, the pistol fighting, the knife fighting, or the Filipino form of pugilism, or our Filipino form of wrestling or grappling. And that's why it's good to say that the discipline of the martial arts, Dugukan martial arts system, this is one of the system, one of the systems of the various system, many systems of the Filipino martial arts. And then I could say that practice martial arts as your self-defense. It is really useful for your development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. In fact, that could be very useful if you are going to use it as a part of the training for the children, inspiring the children in the world of martial arts, because martial arts, as I'm saying, higher form of discipline. And then talking about what's actually Dugukan martial arts. What's the origin of the Dugukan martial arts? This is very important thing. The origin of the Dugukan martial arts. The origin of the Dugukan martial arts. If you can see the logo at my back, and that's the origin of the Dugukan martial arts, because it's based on the system of the Sun modality. I use the lessons based on my inner discovery and my spiritual study in the formulation of the Dugukan martial arts system. So that's why there are people practicing the lessons of the Dugukan martial arts system, and all their lessons actually based on the lessons of my spiritual study. And that's why I'm talking about inner discovery, because I'm actually having my research pertaining to the mystical side of energy healing and or martial arts, the history of the martial arts, and of course this is to mention the achievement as well of the Filipino propagators. The ancient people have had the mastery of the Dugukan martial arts different systems because they were guided by the good spirits. They were given the gift of God. They were given the gift from heaven. So that's why they learn their lessons and show it to the people, show it to the world. And that's why they learn that kind of martial arts. There are people that learn the martial arts in the mystical way, and wherein if you are going to ask them, where did you learn your martial arts? And they would say that I learned this from God. I learned this from somewhere or from anyone. I learned this martial arts in my inner discovery. I was there in the cave doing my spiritual study, doing my meditation, and then I learned this from the different sources, different stories. And we can actually see as well the evidence of their development because they have lesson to teach to their brothers and their sisters. So that's why there are so many versions of the Dugukan. There are so many versions of the different styles of the Sikh fighting, and not to disregard as well the merit or the good contribution, the priceless contribution to all the elders and the propagators, masters, grandmasters, supreme grandmasters of the different styles of the Filipino martial arts. They are really doing good job as well in sharing their lessons, in sharing the priceless lessons to the world. They are inspiring the brothers and the sisters, the people, to learn a very priceless lesson, which is martial arts, the Filipino originated martial arts. So any kind of the systems of Filipino Sikh fighting has its own uniqueness, So this is why masters and the different masters of the Filipino martial arts and different system, they are really unique, so unique. And that's why, in fact, the evidence of that, people are adhering to practice their lessons, and they are learning as well. And the Dugukan martial arts, I'm saying that to all the masters and the practitioners, black belts, and every practitioner of the Dugukan martial arts, always enhance the lesson and get deeper continuing training program. We have the teaching of the lesson. By this time, we have online lessons of the Dugukan martial arts system. And that's why here, we are going to show to you the different lessons of the Dugukan. Just an overview. For example, the Uno Tiradas. The Uno Tiradas, anyway, if you can enhance the mastery, you enhance your movement of the martial arts. And then if you are going to use one movement of your stick, and then that would be enough to counter all the kinds of attacks from the opponent. You only need to apply the deeper meaning of the principle that you are going to apply. And that's what every martial arts propagators are actually doing. They are having their principles and the very meaning of their martial arts. That's why they can really apply their system to protect themselves and to topple down tougher opponent. Even in the case of a very tough opponent, you can topple down as well because you are mastering your system. So it depends upon your enhancement. So in the Dugukan martial arts system, for example, you are going to use the single strike. So how are you going to use the single strike? And then the single strike would be able to counter all the attacks of your opponent. So, anyway, there are various masters of the Dugukan martial arts that can as well illustrate the system of the Dugukan martial arts technique, the system of the Dugukan martial arts. So, let's have an illustration of the Dugukan martial arts, and this is actually continuing training program. And then if in case you are interested to learn the Dugukan martial arts system, then you can register at our website. We have the website, and then any inquiry about how you are going to connect with the Dugukan martial arts, and then just go to the website. Our website is www.innercoredugukan.com, and which or whose master would you like to be your instructor, and then you can request an instructor of the Dugukan martial arts, and that will teach you the lessons that you would like to learn. And then what are the lessons that you would like you can learn in the Dugukan martial arts system? You can practice uno tiradas, dos tiradas, tres tiradas, cuatro tiradas, siete tiradas, 14 tiradas, and then the formless martial arts. And then what's the formless martial arts? And as I'm saying that if you're someone who would like to memorize 100 lakhs and then understand the principle of the martial arts, because in the actual combat you can apply, you can act according to the circumstance. And then what are the very important elements that you should understand about practicing or learning the martial arts of Dugukan. And you can also practice the knife fighting, and you can also practice the amara. For the amara, for example, how many amaras or double sticks that you are going to practice the lessons of the double stick? There is single amara, the Dugukan amara system. Then what's the Dugukan amara system? There is the version for the Dugukan amara system, the latest version of the Dugukan amara system based on the circular movement, and then the antique amara based on the ancient foundation, and then the amara double single, and then the new version, and the olden version, and then the tuksar amara, the korto amara. Korto meaning short, korto. And then how we are going to use korto amara in an actual fighting of long range fighting, because usually korto, that means korto, short, that's short fighting, cross fighting rather, or middle fighting. And then how you are going to use it in the long fighting using the korto. And also the wild, and this actually is not really familiar by this time, because ancient people used to practice banog eskrima, and by this time it's not really seldom that you can see the banog style, and that's actually the version of wild eskrima. It could be formless, and not really formless, because we have to begin as well with the fundamental. And masters of the Dugukan martial arts can illustrate the banog system, that is the tuyok system, and then using the single and the double stick. And with that, that's really effective eskrima system, only that you have to apply the elements. What are the elements of the martial arts of the Dugukan, martial arts system of Dugukan? The system of the technique, the system of the force, and the system of the speed. And why is it system of the force, the technique, and the speed? That's because there is always the system. Even your energy, by the way, you are going to use your force, and then could you use the force in your physical body? I'm saying about powerful force in your physical body without a system of how you are going to use your energy. And that could be something that you have to educate about internal energy cultivation. And that's why in the practice of martial arts, it's really code of life, because it's fullness. And mostly important that we could make our physical body really healthy, because we are practicing martial arts. This actually higher level of martial arts is spiritual martial arts. And the system of technique, how could you enhance your technique if you are not practicing the system itself? You should have an enhancement of your realization about the system, and also the force, the speed. How are you going to release or enhance the speed if you don't have the technique? So there are all those things training modules for that enhancement. That would serve as the system on how you are going to learn quickly of the lessons of the Dugukan martial arts. So we have to emphasize the technique and the lessons of the Dugukan actually is easy to learn. All the lessons are easy to learn because we are modular. And then if we would like to, for example, in the knife fighting, you would like to learn this first module, second module, third module. So you can enjoy, you can register for a module of the training course of the Dugukan with a certain master of the Dugukan that you would like to learn from his guidance, or you can any of the Dugukan masters, and will be able to guide you. You only have to comply the requirements as well, because in the first place we have to take good care of the lessons, and I'm encouraging especially the children and the women to enhance your self-protection, because that's really vital in your self-defense. So that's really vital in your life practicing martial arts. So let's see first an illustration of any of the masters of the Dugukan. Let's begin with which of these strikes we are going to begin. Our illustration is Eskrima. I know there are many people around the world really love Eskrima or arnes. And because you are propagators, you are one of the teachers inspiring the people, the brothers and the sisters, to practice higher form of discipline, and not for fighting, but then higher form of discipline for development of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. So let's call on the first tirada, where we will begin. So we will begin with the Ono tirada, haliging Karatan chapter. Haliging who's the master of Karatan chapter? Haliging Arthur Rice to illustrate the Ono tirada or 14 tiradas. Begin with the 14 tiradas or 14 strikes. Sige, pangasan ni tayo. Dito, basta diri nga side, paong na ni. This is the story of the Dugukan martial arts system, and we are going to go further of the lessons of the education of the Dugukan martial arts system. I'm talking about the Uno Tirada. So Uno Tirada is single strike, and let's see an illustration of the Uno Tirada. The illustration of Master Arthur Hernandez of the Karatan chapter. So let's call on the illustration of the Karatan chapter, Master Arthur Hernandez, for the illustration of the single tirada. Okay, so this is the single tirada. Single tirada is using single stick to strike your opponent, and also using the single stick to topple down the opponent, to counter strike the opponent. Okay, so how you are going to strike using the single tirada? Illustration. Proper handling of the stick. Let's begin with the proper handling of the stick. Proper handling of the stick. Illustrate.
So first of all, we're going to illustrate the proper handling of the stick. So it must be 3 inches above the base and grip it properly, so that you can strike it properly. And then today I will going to illustrate you some of the Dugukan martial arts techniques, the Uno Tiradas. I will going to illustrate you how to deliver and how to counter and how to block, how to take down the opponents.
First, you have to illustrate the striking of the Uno Tiradas. What's the movement of the Uno Tirada?
So the movement of the Uno Tiradas, we're going to illustrate you. So you must strike a circular movement like this.
Okay, sure. Circular Tirada is striking in circular movement.
The lower part of the opponent, the upper part, the lower part, upper part. So it's just a single circular movement or single circular strike.
And then aim to topple down a tougher opponent. Here we don't have enemy, mediocre enemy. Tougher opponent is really good, and you are going to topple down tougher opponent using the single tirada, blocking or countering all the strikes of the tougher opponent. Okay, illustrate. First, you have to illustrate how you are going to topple down the opponent.
So in single tirada, how to tackle down the opponent and how to counter the strike of the opponent. So first of all, you want proper balance with a proper position, proper handling the stick. At the same time, the other hands. So it's like what I illustrated before. A while ago, it's single tirada. Then, so assuming the opponent will strike. So this is the how to counter. That's right. At the same time, you can hit any part of his body, and at the upper part or at the lower part. So again, strike. So this is the single circular strike or circular movement. The uno tirada. So strike again. So now, I will going to illustrate you how to snatch the stick of the opponent in a slow motion. Okay, so you have to move your foot. You have to use a footwork like this, then snatch. Okay, now I'm going to illustrate you also how to take down the opponent and also lock or snatch the stick. So try. Okay, so you have to move quickly and your footwork and also your strike. Then the other hands lock. Then if you want to take down, just take it quickly.
Okay, so that's the taking down of the opponent using the single strike or uno tirada. Uno tirada to counter the strike of the opponent and do not allowing the opponent to hit your physical body, and you have to counter it with the single strike or uno tirada. This is a really good illustration, by the way. And any message for your friends, brothers and sisters, why they are advantage when they are going to practice eskrima?
So the advantage of the uno tirada is you're just using a single movement and you can counter and or at the same time you can strike. So you must master the speed, force, and technique with a quick footwork and quick deliver of the stick. And you can with that single strikes, you can easily tackle down and you can easily take down your opponent. And you can defend yourself as well. And then, so for anyone who would like to learn more about the uno tirada, so you can visit, you can register, and you can enroll at our Dugukan Martial Arts System website, www.enerfordugukan.com. So take care, everyone.
Okay, so haliging Arthur Hernandez or Master Arthur Hernandez of Karate and Chapter illustrating the single tirada on how to tackle down tougher opponent using single strike. We did application of the blocking and the snatching and the doubling down of the opponent. Good. And more power. Okay, so that's the single tirada. The single tirada, very practical lesson. Of course, you cannot apply it if you're just learning it without undergoing actual or proper training. You have to do your enhancement by way also of learning the lessons with the proper guidance of an instructor. Because in every movement, there is always a corresponding principle used with that movement, how to make that movement really effective. That's why during the training, for example, then you will undergo 30 hours training, for example, for that first module, single strike, and then not just only single strike, double, or tres tiradas, cuatro tiradas, and all the tiradas of the Dugukan martial arts system. And then all those lessons you have to practice with the durations of time as well, because you cannot master the lessons overnight. You have to undergo actual training. And by the way, there is training for the Dugukan martial arts, 30 hours basic training course for the Dugukan martial arts system with certificate. And to illustrate also the Dugukan martial arts Amara. So let's look at the Amara. There are many Amaras of the Dugukan. And I'm talking about Amaras of the Dugukan, the Amara Dugukan based on the new version and the olden version. Single Amara, the double Amara, and then the Espada Idaga, the Antique Amara, single, double, the Kurto Amara, and also the Togsar Amara and the Banog or Wild Amara. The different Amaras or Dugukan. So, to illustrate Amara, let's call on Grandmaster Ramon Hernais. He is the Grandmaster, one of the Grandmasters of the Filipino martial arts. But still young, but is very energetic because he is one, in fact, he's one of the officers of the Philippine Eskrima Arnis Federation of the southern part of Cebu, particularly Carcar City. Okay, for the illustration, so let's see Igmat Ramon Hernais to illustrate Antique Amara. So first, come closer, come closer, come closer. Okay, so first, what's Antique Amara? Is Antique Amara that's using double stick, using the olden version of the Amara, striking the different striking points of the opponent, the lateral left and side lateral body parts of the opponent. It could be the temple, or it could be the elbow, or it could be the knee. So those are the target point of the Amara double Antique Amara. So from the word Antique Amara, so that's actually the olden version of the Amara. When we are going to illustrate the Dugukan Amara, okay, first we have to illustrate the Dugukan Amara. Illustrate the Dugukan Amara. First, message to your brothers and sisters. Before the actual sparring, we will see first the actual illustrations of Amara. How could you run the Amara? Okay, perform Amara. Dugukan Amara first. So they are going to perform direct fighting, combative fighting using the Amara technique. Okay, so let's see the illustration from Igmat Ramon Hernais or Master Ramon Hernais to illustrate the Antique Amara with the opponent. So supposing the opponent will strike you, then will strike you with a double stick, and how you are going to counter the double stick striking or aim to tackle you down. Okay, begin. So that's actually the fundamental of the Amara, and then that's the Antique Amara. So when the opponent will strike you on the head, you have to counter as well. The opponent by striking the stick instead of striking the hip. Okay, that's the application of the lock. So using the double Amara, then you are going to tackle down your opponent by controlling your opponent's movement through the application of the lock. So that's lock with the double stick and tackle down the opponent. So that's good. So that's the application of the Antique Amara. So what's the meaning of the Antique Amara? Because it's based on the olden system of fighting using the double stick. Okay, that's good. That's illustration from the Karkar Artist Club, Master Ramon Hernais. Okay, message from Master Ramon Hernais.
What are you waiting for? Visit now and enroll at www.innergrowthdugukan.com.
Yes, so what are you waiting for? So,
more power and God bless.
okay, very good. See the illustration with the illustration of the Antique Amara. So yes, I could agree with you. What are you waiting for? Learn the Amara. Not because you are going to fight or topple down your opponent, because you are going to make your physical body healthy and strong. Okay, very nice illustration. Thank you, Master Ramon Hernais of the Karkar Artist Club. More power. And also joining with us in this good illustration for educational purpose of the Dugukan martial arts system. So that's the Amara. So there are different versions of the Amara, rather the olden version and the new version. And the Dugukan martial arts system is using the modality of the Sun formula. Sun formula, that's the Sun formula because that's actually if you look at the map, for example, the map of the country, you will know where you are going to go because there is the map. Likewise, also the Dugukan martial arts, there is the plotting of the system of Dugukan, whereas this plot is the very basis or the very foundation of the Dugukan martial arts. So when you are going to ask the origin of the Dugukan martial arts, so the simple answer for that is the formula of the Sun-Core modality. So included in the formula of the Sun-Core modality is the art of energy healing, divine healing, mystical healing, and even the Hilot healing. Hilot healing is really vital in the practice of martial arts. Whenever the time you are injured in your practice, and then you can heal yourself. Fix your sprain, fix your strain, and muscle pains, and also the collapse of the energy in the physical body because of so much training, then you feel so tired, then that's the time that you are going to apply your Hilot healing. So included in the package of the learning of the Dugukan martial arts is learning energy healing or Hilot healing. So that's a good illustration from one of the masters of the Dugukan martial arts, the officer as well of the Filipino martial arts or Filipino Arts Federation or PCAF, southern part of Cebu, particularly Carcar City. And let's also see what about the Tres Tiradas? Tres Tiradas, you are going to use the stick, striking the opponent or countering the strikes of your opponent or toppling down of your opponent using the Tres Tiradas. And who will illustrate the Tres Tiradas? So I will call on the illustration of, okay, I'll assign this to Master Basilio Hernandez, the instructor of Guru to Cebu City chapter. So Master Basilio Hernandez to illustrate the Tres Tiradas. Master Basilio Hernandez is also the coach of the competition, martial arts competition in the children, the school. What is the how is it called? The sports Sibira, rather the Sibira. So yeah, he has various students of Iskrima, and his students were champion in the tournament of the Sibira. That's very good achievement of Master Basilio Hernandez. So to illustrate the Tres Tiradas of the Dugukan martial arts system, so I'll call on Master Basilio Hernandez to illustrate what's Tres Tiradas, what's the beauty of the Tres Tiradas of the Dugukan martial arts system. So let's call on Master Basilio Hernandez to illustrate. First, you have to explain what's Tres Tiradas before the actual sparring. So let's call on Master Basilio Hernandez. Come forward.
So the beauty of Tres Tiradas,
So that's the Tres Tiradas using double sticks.
using double sticks, but now I will research first the striking of the Tres Tiradas. So 1, 2, 3. So this striking is to attack the part, any part of the body, hitting part of the body of your opponent.
Okay, good. Attacking the opponent any parts of the body using the Tres Tiradas. Okay, the gestures or the movements are very simple. And then let's see how it works in the actual fighting. How you are going to topple down your opponent using the Tres Tiradas. So, fighting position.
Stance. Fight.
Okay, so that's the Tres Tiradas, using the legs to maneuver the control of the opponent, and then toppling down the opponent using the Tres Tiradas, the legs, the application of the legs. And then you can see the movement, the commencement of the movement is tuksar, or striking or stabbing the opponent using the principle of the Tres Tiradas. And right after that, the Tres Tiradas will apply the lock, the wrist block, then after the wrist block, elbow block, or the lock to control the movement of the opponent, and then after controlling the movement of the opponent by the method of the Tres Tiradas, toppling down the opponent, taking it down. That's a really good illustration from Master Basilio Hernandez of Gururdo chapter, Dugukan martial arts system. Very good, more power. And message to your brothers and sisters.
So you will learn a lot about Tres Tiradas. Just register in our website www.enercordugukan.com.
Okay, good, and more power. So, when you are someone who would like to learn the Dugukan martial arts system, you can visit the website. So, there you can register for lessons, online lesson of the Dugukan martial arts system. And that's the Tres Tiradas. As we are going to advance our education of the Dugukan martial arts system, we have to be reminded that the purpose of our practice of the Dugukan martial arts is development of our body, mind, soul, and spirit. Because that's actually natural healing if you are going to apply it in the natural way, as you are going to apply it as your body maintenance in the natural way. So you are going to practice martial arts because you are going to topple down your opponent. You don't have opponent brothers or sisters or people, because the people are your brothers and your sisters. And who are your enemies? Our enemies are the wear and tear of the physical body every day. We need growth every day. So let's use martial arts as our good discipline to develop our body, mind, soul, and spirit. So that's a good illustration from Master Basilio Hernandez, Gorodo chapter. And then also, what about the knife fighting? And then we are encouraging, as I'm saying, we are encouraging the youth to practice self-defense art, because self-defense art is higher form of discipline. And the children, when they are guided in the field of martial arts, and then they grow up as a good citizen. They grew up good citizen because they have good discipline, the discipline of martial arts. And then what about knife fighting? Knife fighting is really good for the women, especially for the women, because women, many women victims are for bad elements and violence, because they do not know how to protect their own lives. They do not know how to protect themselves against bad elements that will try to attack. But then if you are learning the martial arts, for example, self-defense art, then against bad elements, then you are confident that you can topple down your opponent or someone that will come to you to attack you or to abuse you, because you're practicing your martial arts, especially when you are learning knife fighting. So there are various techniques of knife fighting. And in the Dugukan martial arts is also, the Dugukan martial arts are also teaching knife fighting. It's based again in the modality of the Sun modality or Sun core modality. So let's have an illustration. So who will illustrate among the masters here of the Dugukan martial arts, who will illustrate the knife fighting? So I'll call on the Guadalupe chapter. So the leader of the youth, Igmat Julian Bularin, to illustrate the knife fighting. Okay, so Igmat Julian Bularin is leader of the youth, and together with her is Delilah, again one of the leaders of the youth, inspiring the youth in the practice of Filipino martial arts, higher form of discipline, inspiring the children in the world of martial arts to become one of the best champions of the world. So they're going to illustrate the knife fighting, when the opponent will attack, and then how you are going to topple down your opponent using the knife. Then they are using two knives. So let's say the illustration. First, this is from the leader of the youth, Igmat Jillian Bulari.
So in knife fighting, you can have the single or the double knives fighting. So in our illustration, we are going to use the double knives fighting since we are using three knives. So first, we're going to perform the proper stance. And we are going to use the reverse technique of holding the knives, which is this, like this, reverse holding. Wherein the blade is in front. The blades of the knives are in front. So when the opponent will attack, so quickly do the blocking. And then there's an advance when there's an advanced movement of the opponent, so do the stabbing of the arm and then strike the heart, then to the neck.
So slashing the neck and tackling down the opponent by slashing, or thus not just on ordinary slashing, that's cutting the head. Okay, very good illustration from Igmat Julian Bularin. So do it in a quick motion. Let's see how you are going to apply the speed using with that particular technique of blocking and toppling down the opponent using the knives. Okay, quick movement. Okay, sure, it's good, it's good. So once the opponent will advance the strike of the knife towards your body, you have to block it by your knife as well. You have to block it with your knife, and then that's blocking the arm with the knife. And then again, after blocking the knife with the knife, blocking the arm with the knife, then you have to stab. And then when the opponent will begin to strike again with his left hand, left arm, then you have to stab the bicep. Then after stabbing the bicep, then you have to stab the neck. Then after stabbing the neck, you have to cut the neck and then topple down the opponent. Wow, that's a really fatal strike. And that's a really good illustration from Igmat Julian Bularin, one of the instructors of the Filipino martial arts, instructors of the youth, and inspiring the youth in the world of self-defense art. Really nice from Igmat Julian Bularin, the leader of the Guadalupe chapter, and Delilah Guadalupe chapter. More power. And message from Igmat Bularin.
We encourage the youth, most especially the women, to enhance and develop their body, mind, soul, and spirit through practicing martial arts, specifically the knives fighting. Thank you.
Yes, more power. And good luck. So that's really good. And there's really good advantage for the women to learn martial arts, because against the tougher enemy, and you do not know when tougher enemy come. When tougher enemy comes to try the balance of your peace and harmony, to try to ruin your life, and then you are actually having your best weapon because you are enhancing your self-defense art. This is really one of the lessons of the art of survival, learning your martial arts. So really nice. And it's especially for the women and for the youth. And the longer the years that you're going to practice knife fighting and or eskrima, and then that's how competent you are. That's how competent you are in your practice of self-defense art. And then that's based on the version of the Dugukan martial arts, the education of the Dugukan martial arts. And this really nice from Igmat Julian Bularin. And this actually the knife fighting. And there are also the amaras of the knife fightings. And then again, let's proceed to the siete tiradas. And the siete tiradas, why is it siete tiradas? Because 7 strikes. 7 strikes to maneuver tougher opponent. Here, we are going to talk more about tougher opponent. So, if you can topple down tougher opponent, and then you are more than tougher than your tougher opponent, because you are able to maneuver to control your opponent against the sudden attack, and then against brutal force, and then you are able to maneuver it because you're enhancing your spiritual martial arts or enhancing your self-defense art. Anyway, there are so many versions of the eskrima strikes, and this is one of the versions. I'm talking about the siete tiradas. Then after mastering the lessons, then you can apply the different variations. So what you have seen in this illustration actually is not the actual lesson. This is just an introduction. Then if you are going to review this lesson, definitely you can apply it, but not necessarily mean that you can learn it, because again, there is the precise application of the movement. You can see the lesson and you can copy the lesson, and then does not mean that you will really learn according to its precise education of this martial arts. So it's only by learning the lessons of this martial arts with the proper guidance of the teacher or the master in charge for that particular lesson. So let's call on the city tiradas. So who will illustrate the city tiradas? Okay, so there's a volunteer, the Sambuanga chapter. So let's see an illustration of the city tiradas 7 strikes. In self-defense art, how you are going to protect yourself with the 7 strike or 7 tiradas or 7 tiradas. So let's call on Master Robert Santos of Sambuanga chapter. Message.
Good day everyone. Today, our chapter is going to discuss about the Siete Tiradas. Siete Tiradas is 7 strikes, 7 vital points. Vital points, we're going to hit temporal. No need to destabilize or no need to immobilize, hit at the elbow. May I go with the illustration?
Okay, the illustration of the Siete tiradas.
For the Siete Tiradas, the first strike is the temporal. Before going to the strike, if you are right-handed, when you strike, use your right stance to enforce the strike. 1, hitting the temporal left,
So temporal lateral side of body.
right, 3, left elbow, 4, right, 5, left knee, 6, right knee, 7.
Okay, on the head. That's the medial superior side, superior part of the body.
So, a little demonstration of the step tiradas. My policy will attack on the temporal side. Okay. Attack, first of all, on the principles of Dugukan as other martial arts masters of Dugukan, we don't defend, but we strike. At the same time, we do the offense. Doing like this, by offense, and then we strike. Okay? We will strike assuming the opponent will attack, and standing position, attack.
Okay, so using the strikes to block the strike of the opponent.
Yes, ensure with your position, your stances, and with the strike, you have this off balance, strike in. Then, lock.
Okay, very nice. So that's the application of the one of the 7 strikes, advancing the lock technique using the 7 strikes, rather 7 strikes, Siete tiradas. Really good illustration. So that's the introduction of the lesson. Is it the introduction of the lesson?
Yes, very much introduction because there are lots of techniques in Dugukan. So, very much interested, please visit www.innercom.dugukan.com.
Would you be available for the coaching of anyone interested to practice the lessons of Dugukan martial arts?
Yes, very much sure.
Okay, so welcome. More power. Okay, so that's the application of the Siete tiradas and how you are going to tackle down your opponent and blocking all the strikes of your opponent using the Siete tiradas or 7 strikes. So really good illustration from one of the Dugukan martial arts masters, the Sambuanga chapter, Master Robert Santos. And that's really good. And then for the rest of masters of the Dugukan, Aliging Large Fire, Master Large Fires, our Manila chapter, he could not illustrate today because he's in Manila. And also the other masters of the Dugukan martial arts were not here. And then for their illustration later on the next time. And for anybody wishing to learn the lessons of the Dugukan martial arts system, first we have to discern that the martial art is a higher form of discipline. Once you are into the practice of the Dugukan martial arts, then you are going to abide the commandments of good health because you are going to practice martial arts because you serve as model for the rich people who are there doing destructive vices. Because we have to take good care of our physical body, and our enemies are the illnesses And I could observe many masters of martial arts. They are victims of hypertension, heart attack, or cardiac attack, stroke, because in the practice of martial arts, I would say that it should be good maintenance for the health. And we should go in a deeper education, which is the healing, which is the other half side of the martial arts. Because martial arts, development of body, mind, soul, and spirit, we can protect ourselves from the attacks of our enemy because we are very good in the martial arts and guarding our physical body against the attackers, the opponents, our enemies. And then we do not guard our body against illnesses. So development of body, mind, soul, and spirit. Integration of the martial arts with the healing arts. And that's really nice. And that's in fact, that's really the foundation, the foundation, the very foundation of the all-day martial arts. They are healers because they are practicing martial arts. And then let's see that illustration. We have the illustration, the 7 strikes from Sambuanga chapter, Master Igmat Robert Hernais, Igmat Robert Santos. And then let's see also another illustration of knife fighting. I'm suggesting women should practice knife fighting. Why? Because knife fighting is really dangerous and it's really effective martial arts and really effective to protect yourself. You do not need to bring with you knife anywhere you are going to walk unless you have the background how you are going to protect yourself against sudden attack, against abuse, or because there are bad elements, really bad elements. And in time of need, you are confident because you know martial arts. So let's call on illustration of knife fighting. So let's call on Negros chapter, headed by Antiquiches, Cordova. So illustration of knife fighting. So the Amara Tugsar. So what's Amara Tugsar? So Tugsar, that's actually the use of the knife to stab your opponent. Using also the Tugsar, the movement of the knife, stabbing your opponent, and also countering the strike of your opponent. And on this technique, you are going to avoid that the knife will hit or connect with your body, or else you will die because knife is already dangerous. And let's see about technique of knife fighting from Negros chapter, headed by Quinches, one of the instructor of the Dugukan martial arts for women's welfare, Quinches, Abdi Quinches. Mrs. from Quinches, Abdi Quinches.
First, you should hold your knife horizontally and then right forward stand to balance your body. And the start is to strike.
Okay, so this is the illustration of the knife fighting by Abdi Quinches and Abdi Ria, so Sambuanga chapter, and Negros, San Carlos Negros chapter. Okay, so a knife for women's protection against bad elements. With the illustration, double knives. Double knives. Okay, begin. So that's the Tugsar. The Tugsar movement, enhancing your accuracy on stabbing your opponent and also countering the attacks of your opponent. And then using the movement, and you are going to control the opponent by application of the locks and lock, and control the opponent and tapping down, stabbing, that's slashing and stabbing, and slashing and hacking. So once you can control the opponent by the application of the lock, you can hack, you can stab, or you can slash. Okay, very good illustration from Quinches Cordova, Igmat Abdi Quinches Cordova, an advocator of women's welfare, and Abdi Ria of Sambuanga chapter and San Carlos chapter combined. Okay, really good illustration. Okay, message from Optic Witches.
I'm encouraging all women out there to practice the Dugukan martial arts system to defend yourself, your loved ones, and to all people around you all the time.
Yes, very good. Nice message. Protect the people around you. Protect your loved ones because they are really priceless, and you cannot allow that they are victims of negative energies, bad elements. So this is one of the ways of you are going to topple down the negative energies because you are enhancing your martial arts. Very nice. More power. So the education of the Dugukan martial arts is continuing training program, and there are various lessons of the Dugukan martial arts. And this educational session today, we're talking about the education of the Dugukan martial arts because this often I heard from the people who are talking about the Dugukan martial arts system. Where is this art come from? What's the origin of this martial arts? That I'm showing the origin of this martial arts. This is based on the Sankor modality. And then who are the people responsible for the Sankor modality? And then the history will begin with my propagation because I'm talking about the unfinished mission of the enigmatic masters of the culture. And then what's the enigmatic masters of the Filipino cultures? They are already passed away. I'm talking about their physical existence, but not necessarily that their spirits are also passing away. They could never pass away because they are not still completed their mission in life. So if we are going to give deeper clarification of the lessons of the Dugukan and the origin of the lessons of the Dugukan, then I would say that this is actually the Sun modality gesture, the Sun modality art, the Sun modality lesson, because all the martial gestures of the Dugukan, all the martial arts of the Dugukan are taken from the Sun core book. And that's why if you are going to learn the lessons of the Dugukan martial arts, then I'll know that you are practicing the lessons because you can explain the movements of the forms and gestures that you are going to perform. And you can as well do your energy healing, divine healing, because you are doing the lessons of the Dugukan. And I'm glad, by the way, because of the presence of the different masters coming from the various masters of the Dugukan martial arts system, coming from different places. And of course, we are having different masters, practitioners of the Dugukan martial arts, and only by this time they cannot really come present with us because of the current condition of the place, the current condition, rather the current condition of our country, our world, because of the pandemic issue. So let's only do in this way. We're having our educational coaching of the continuing training program of the Dugukan martial arts in this way through video that we can create with social distancing all the time. And of course, we are going to practice martial arts, and then there are so many things that we have to think. And only one thing that we can sum up everything that we're doing here: we should develop healthy body, mind, soul, and spirit. So it's really nice with all the presence of the masters and the grandmasters anywhere in the world, practicing martial arts and in any other disciplines of the martial arts. Wherever you are, continue the job. That's a really good job that you are going to share to the people in the world, sharing within the higher form of discipline, which is the discipline of the martial arts. Okay, so let's everybody stand up for the closing of this session or conference today with social distancing. And we have to limit also the participants of our session today because this is really intended for educational purpose. and only leaders can attain, and all the rest will be there if they are going to register for the online course of the lesson of Dugukan martial arts system. So everyone, hugay sa lahat, and Dugukan martial arts system, Enercore Bawing, Beam. Dismiss.